Good morning, everyone. My name is Raghav. I'm the founder of the Startup Club. So every month we conduct this pitch workshop where we get a founder to come in and then pitch their product or whatever they're building as a startup. And we have our investor, Mr. Amiya Srivatsava. So he'll be introducing himself in a bit. So the format of this is going to be like it's an hour-long session, and we'll go with like 10 minutes of the founder pitching their product and the startup, and then we'll have Amiya is going to be like dissecting the pitch and also like asking questions and giving strategic advice and things like that. Mostly, the whole point of this session is to help other founders understand how investors look at startups and how they make decisions, so that like you guys can basically have an easier time understanding how to pitch to investors. So this session is going to be mostly like Amiya and Jitesh having a back and forth. There will not be any kind of interaction from other people. So we'll try to I think Amiya is going to give a little more of a introduction as to how the session is going to go. So Amiya, if you can introduce yourself and then get started.
Okay, so about me, I've been into corporate life for a very long time, a decade and a half. Worked as a consultant, as a product manager for corporate companies, Cisco, Amazon, started my own startup, took an exit from there. Joined a VC fund, micro VC fund rather. Been working as a startup mentor with Deep Tech Club in NASCOM and Madhwani Foundation. And right now I am with Juvian Ventures, where we help startups assess whether they are ready for a round of fundraise and whether the business is externally investable or not. And if they are, then we interface them with the investors from different categories and kinds, typically operating at a pre-seed and seed stage. So that's what I do. Now, with regards to this particular session, we've got a pretty informal session here. The objective of the session is for the founder, in this case, Jitesh, to take about, say, 15 minutes and try not to be more, because the primary objective is to get an outside view of what's happening. And based on the biases that I have, perhaps, in terms of my interactions with the investors and the startups that I've worked with, there is a certain perspective that I hold, and that's what I'm trying to share so that you can be better prepared and aware of how someone else is going to look at the business and how is it that they are going to see whether you are investment ready in the first place or not, and how willing they would be to, or inclined they would be to make a investment into the business, right? So that's the perspective that I'm going to hold here. Over to you, Jitesh. Please go ahead, introduce yourself, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Amiya and Raghav, for the opportunity. Tell you a bit about myself first. I'm a business and marketing guy. I've lived and worked in 7 different countries. I started my career early on in the food industry, working with Kraft Foods, which is #2 worldwide after Nestle. So Kraft owns brands like Cadbury, Toblerone, Tang, Oreos, Kraft Cheese, some 300 such global power brands. So, having been part of the food industry with Kraft in the US and in Australia, I've firsthand seen a lot of the chemicals which go into the mass-produced packaged foods and the kind of long-term impact those have on the body. And I've always been a meticulous label reader, buying clean label, additive-free foods. And as a consultant, I'd be traveling overseas, and most of the stuff would be bought from the US or Europe. Now, when the lockdowns came about, I realized I was running low on the stocks at home, and there was no way to procure these kinds of additive-free products from overseas. Most of my peer group were also in the same situation. They would say, "Aap jab travel karte hain, le aate hain, nahi koi aa raha hota hai, mangwa lete hain." But there weren't really too many readily available options in India at that time. So in the last 4 years, that has dramatically changed. The consumers have become a lot more health conscious. They're proactively looking for healthier options. And in response, the market has also transformed. Just in the last 4 years, about 2,000 plus brands have been launched in India, within the healthy eating space. However, from a customer point of view, the biggest challenge is not the inavailability of the products, but discovery of the products. I mean, customers are actively seeking pure additive-free beverages. 69% are doing it. 57% of them, they have the financial ability and the willingness to pay a premium price for a premium product. But again, more than two-thirds of them are not being adequately served by the current market scenario. So that's where the opportunity lies, which is also our problem statement in the sense that as a consumer, if you're looking for healthy options, you could go offline, go to your local kirana guy, your nearby supermarket. No matter how big, first of all, shelf space is not infinite. So they end up stocking the mass market, fast moving products, which give them a higher revenue margins and rotation. Uh, it's not possible for them to stock each and every brand. If you go online, yes, all of these brands are selling through their own websites. The challenge there becomes that as a consumer, if you're looking to buy even 4 or 5 products, you'd want to look at a couple of options for each, and you end up going through 15, 20 different websites. If you'd like everything in one place, sure, the options are there. You could go to Amazon, Big Basket, and the like. However, the challenge there is the opposite. Every query gives you 10,000 results. These are all across the spectrum when it comes to price, quality, and purity. And as a consumer, the onus is on you to open up each listing, look at the ingredients, and try to decipher, is it actually additive free? Is it healthy? Is it good for me or not? So what we've done is we've created a platform, an ecosystem, where consumers can actually confidently shop because every product which we feature has been meticulously vetted and curated to ensure that it is additive free. So we empower consumers to discover and shop for these pure, wholesome, and additive-free food and beverage brands from across India. The consumer gains because their due diligence is not necessary anymore. We do it on their behalf. The brands also gain because they're being placed next to complementary brands from other parts of the country, from other categories. For example, somebody likes to have green tea, organic, in the evenings. So while they're looking for green tea, we're algorithmically able to recommend to them perhaps raw honey brands, which can go along with their tea, and even a selection of healthy snacks for their evening tea. So essentially, if we look at the market opportunity, India has a tremendously fast growing upper middle class and middle class. If we look at the number of households, we're talking about 90 million plus households who have that financial ability. And from a market perspective, also, the results are that 11% in 2020, 11% of consumers were buying healthier products rather than the mass market products. That's growing to $30 billion in 2 years. And that's 50% higher in terms of the CAGR, which the conventional products have. So looking at the industry size and the demand for healthy, definitely it makes sense to align with the customers and to provide them easy access and discovery of these brands, which are already doing phenomenal work. And our target customer is basically an educated, aware individual, both male and female, in the age groups of around 27 and 50. These are well informed. They're consciously leading a healthy lifestyle, not just physical health, but focused on mental well being and their holistic consumption pattern as well. And they definitely value transparency and ethics in the brands they deal with. Our vision is to enhance the way India discovers and experiences pure flavor. And we want to curate foods and beverages with strict standards, provide an easy and transparent shopping experience, and become synonymous with health conscious food and beverage buying in India. Today, it's a fact that almost every product is available on Amazon. So we're not competing with Amazon per se. However, from a top of mind recall for this particular category, we position ourselves as the logical solution. For example, uh, if you're looking for cosmetics, personal care, even if Amazon is selling those brands, you would begin the journey most likely on a Nika. If you're looking for fashion, accessories, shoes, even if Amazon is selling that product, you would begin the journey, say, on Ajio or Myntra. So we are on the way to becoming that top of mind recall when it comes to healthy buying for food and beverages. All the products which we feature contain no artificial colors, flavors, or preservatives, no additives of any kind. It's all natural. And essentially, we want to become the trusted shopping and discovery platform for these kinds of products. One thing which no other brand has ever done in India or anywhere for that matter is we have a brand promise, simple ethos which guides everything we do. We will never sell anything that isn't pure enough to serve to our own families. I mean, if I can, in good conscience, serve it to my family, my daughter, my wife, my mother, only then I will sell that product. And that is exactly what has been missing in the market so far as well. We've done a soft launch a couple of months ago. We've got products in 20 plus categories. We've got industry leading brands like Blue Nectar, which is India's #1 health and wellness company. They're selling through us. Alpino has signed on. Their products would soon be listed. Alpino is India's #1 peanut butter and protein bar company. We've got Shimmy, which is North India's #1 kombucha brand. Trichota Oils, which is one of the leading generations old organic cold pressed nut oils companies. So, from a supply side, we've got tremendous traction and interest. Brands are reaching out to us to get listed. We've got 250 plus SKUs currently, trending towards 500 plus SKUs in the next 3 months. And we're getting a lot of unpaid, earned media attention as well. So the categories we're in, they range from craft tea and coffee to honey, healthy snacks, spices, jams, and chutneys and condiments. And in the near future, we would also be launching healthy food options for kids as well as for pets. The model is quite simple. We are a discovery and shopping platform. We fulfill by drop shipping, and we are success fee based. Essentially, we don't have any of the gimmicky sign up fees or product listing fees or any monthly fees which we charge our vendor partners. We are equally invested in their success, and we see ourselves as a company which eliminates that barrier to discovery and shopping, which means we only charge our vendor partners for a successful sale. We currently have a 30% platform fee, which we charge on each successful sale. We don't have to contend with logistical nightmares. The brands manage that through drop shipping. Our system is able to automatically push the orders to the brand for fulfillment. So, as far as transit damages, returns, etc., declined deliveries, we don't really have to take on the liability for that. Whereas we do ensure that the brands also do not feel unnecessary exposure because ultimately our goal is to make sure our customers and our vendor partners are happy. That would automatically translate to profitability for us. As far as the growth strategy is concerned, we don't want to just be pumping in money in Google and Meta ads. That's not sustainable in the long run. Being a first-time founder, second-time founder rather, my first startup was acquired in 2009, and being a consultant and mentor to so many other startups, I do believe in long-term sustainable growth. So essentially, we want to start with creating a repository of value-added content. Ultimately, the customer psychology, whether it's online or offline, whether it's now or 200 years ago, it's the same. The more time you spend with a brand in a store, that's going to translate into a more higher likelihood of a transaction. Let's say you want to buy a shoe. You know exactly what you want. You walk into a shoe store. If they don't have it, you walk out. But if the salesman is engaging enough, gets you into a conversation, the longer you speak, the more likely you are to come out buying something. Likewise, we want to generate that connect with the customer through our content, whether it's short format, YouTube, long format videos, Instagram, articles, blog posts, things like that, where we educate the customer, we provide them the necessary tools and information to make an informed decision, so that they trust us, and the moment they are keen on buying, we come top of mind. We enable the discovery and purchase, and we don't want to look at the customer as a one-time transaction. We need to delight, and that's what we're working on from an experience perspective. We need to delight the customer, get them into repeat buyers, and more than that, become evangelists of our brand. Because definitely people mingle with like-minded peers. And if one person is buying, we need to tap into their network of peers. And along with the value added content creation, which will fill the top of the funnel, we want to focus on the overall experience, the strategic expansion where we attract vendor partners with the same ethos which we have, grow our product offerings, uh, engage with the community, not just online, but also offline through pop ups and through other events where we demonstrate our stewardship of nutrition, purity, and taste. And that's something very important for us because generally healthy foods do have a connotation of being fairly bland when it comes to taste. And our brand itself, flavor, represents that beyond health, it's also going to emphasize taste. FLVR is essentially pure the flavor, which we talk about, with the additives, the unnecessary additives of the vowels removed. So FLVR is pure concentrated flavor and with an emphasis on health. And definitely a proactive measurement of everything we do, A/B testing, all the metrics, so that we can optimize our ROI. And I told you a bit about myself. Along with me, a key member of my founding team is Prankul Midda. He's from IIT Delhi. He's got an international prolific career around the world. He's worked in the US, in Europe, and he is tremendous when it comes to technology and operations. And he's got a vast network through his IIT background, which we've also leveraged for mentorship and for various other industry connects. And as far as our ask, we seek 1.5 CR. This will enable us to gain 29,000 buyers and drive 1.9 crore almost in sales in the next 18 months. And we will do this by investing in technology, our team, and infrastructure, and a major chunk of it would go towards marketing and promotions, which would include paid as well as organic. Thank you. I hope I've stayed within the time limit.
Yes, you did. Very much so. Thank you so much, Jitesh. Really mindful of that. Okay, thank you so much for that presentation. Really nicely done. You being a second-time founder sort of reflects in the content that you're putting out there. That's quite evident. Your background as well, in terms of the industry that you're looking at, it comes out very nicely. But let me just put some questions before I talk about certain aspects, okay?
Please.
So when we are looking at, say, the likes of Amazon or Flipkart versus a more niche marketplace versus the D2C approach of the brands themselves, right? What's your thought on that?
Like I mentioned in the problem statement, sure, Amazon pretty much sells everything. However,
So
when
let's
you
let's
look
look
for
at it from a sorry to interrupt, but let's look at it from a
no, please.
consumer psychology perspective. Why would a consumer go to Amazon? Why would a consumer go to a niche marketplace? Why would a consumer go to a D2C brand's website directly? And that's what's essentially what each of these parties are trying to tap into to either engage, create awareness, or make a sale. Right? So
Right.
what's your thought on that?
Well, marketplaces like Amazon, they are so wide that for them, it makes a lot more sense to focus on the fast-moving mass market products. That's where the biggest chunk of their pie lies. Uh, there are multiple niches in terms of the products which they offer. So for them to go deep into each niche is actually counterproductive. Whereas we've selected one particular niche which we're laser focused on. We're not like other marketplaces which will sell you organic hand lotion also. They'll sell you anything which has paper packaging instead of plastic, or they'll sell you reusable steel or silicone straws. We are laser focused on food and beverage. So that reflects in our brand name as well. And that's what we want to be synonymous with. As far as the individual D2C brands go, first of all, the challenge is if you're looking for options before you buy for 5 products, you might end up going to 15, 20 websites, which is cumbersome. Also, for each individual website, they would have their own interface. So it's a slight learning curve for the customer each time they discover a new website and they try to navigate it. Plus, trust is an issue as well. Instead of trying to trust 20 different websites before purchasing, we have one ecosystem, one platform, which not just sells, but we are promoting a healthy lifestyle. We are providing insights and content around that lifestyle, which resonates with our target segment. We're able to earn their trust. We're able to provide a unified experience across purchase experience of multiple brands which are present on our platform. And we're able to leverage the presence of so many brands across categories to enhance the AOV by cross-selling across categories, like I mentioned, with the tea and the honey and healthy snacks example.
Okay.
So the sum of the parts is going to be greater than the individuals in this case.
Fair enough. My thought process is more in terms of why does any brand need a marketplace? How does a specific marketplace, be it a wide variety marketplace like Amazon or Flipkart versus a niche marketplace, why do they exist in the first place? Right. Now, even for a new brand, the category that you're talking about, sure, all the problems in terms of adulteration or everything else, 100% agreed. Finding the right sort of product fitting into your budget, very real problem. But at the end of the day, no matter which category you look at, all the brands that go to any of these marketplaces, they are essentially trying to get a engine started for themselves where they could potentially go and create a brand for themselves, right? So the end goal is to tactically make a sale and get into consumers' home. Strategically, it is to have the recall value so that consumers don't go out on the marketplace and say that I want XYZ salt. Everybody just wants to say, I want Tata salt, right? That's the place that every brand wants to be at. Now, when I'm looking at a marketplace model, the biggest fear, yeah, uncertainty I have is the longevity of the marketplace model and the churn of the brand that could potentially happen within the marketplace itself. For example, let's just say that tomorrow, one of the brands that you're working with, they are way too big. Why would they be willing to pay you a 30% commission against the sale that they could potentially do themselves? Maybe if they are purely digital, they go offline as well, etc., right? So the supply side, tactically speaking, typically works out. But if I have to look a long-term horizon, and which is what an investor is going to look at, if I have to remain invested in a company for the next 5-7 years, and if I'm looking at my exit horizon then I have to ask the question that where are you going to be in your 5 to 7 year timeline? Are you still going to be surviving and thriving and growing at a certain rate year on year over that duration? So the first 2-3 years, if you are a good company with a good ethos, with a good reach and positioning and name in the market, etc., 2-3 years are okay because that's when your pre-seed to Series A is typically working out. But when I'm looking at a Series A onwards and a Series B and a Series C, then my expectations are very, very different. Then I'm looking at the kind of growth cycles that I'm looking at. really need to be able to justify that. Without holding a product of your own in a typical marketplace model, how do you get to that? That's where my biggest fear comes from, right? So that's one part of the equation. Now, when I'm looking at the underlying question in terms of the differentiation between an Amazon and a Flavor, the variety in terms of what is available and the mix that is available, there are two variables. One, the mix of organic and non-organic products. Second, the variety in each of those. Okay, how many products? While Flavor can solve for the non-organic product part of it, it still needs a bunch of products to create that variety, because the algorithm that you mentioned, and I heard the word algorithm, I would actually love to know more about it. But you would still have to present those choices to the customer and say that, boss, here are the 15 different products in the, let's just say, XYZ beverage category. You would still have to do that, right? You can't just go ahead and say that this is the best one, just use this. So how do you see this? And how do you cater to this, essentially? That's where I'm trying to figure out that underlying piece in terms of how you look at the variability of product available and the availability of choice to the consumer. How do you cater to that? Do you have any differentiations?
Yes. So, Amiya, you've raised really fantastic points. If I were to give you a little bit more of the background of our venture, initially, we didn't start out as a marketplace.
Okay.
The idea germinated from my own inability to find the kind of products. And the original idea was to actually create a brand of foods and beverages with our own product offerings. However, I realized that, first of all, scalability is an issue. Today, we can outscale any D2C brand on innovation on new products simply because if let's talk about any brand, they come out with a new product, they have to invest in R&D, they have to look for suppliers, they have to go in for their pricing models, the trademark registrations, trial marketing, so on and so forth.
Sure.
And it's a 6 month to a year cycle before they can launch a new product. Currently, we don't have coffee on our platform. That's a category we're looking at adding products to. Just this week, what I've done is I've picked up the phone, spoken to 5 different coffee brands, which provide additive-free coffees. Uh, One of them has signed on already. By next week, we'll have 20 products on our platform. So we can scale infinitely faster than most D2C brands on an individual level can, which is one of the reasons why we chose the marketplace model. We pivoted even before the launch. Next, uh, the biggest advantage we also have is that, yes, while the brands definitely want to eventually move the sale away from their marketplace stores onto their individual websites. Again, that's where the customer experience would become fragmented. And I don't think even in D2C today, there are too many brands who can claim that they are the only brand that this customer would buy. So we provide choice to the end customer. We provide a healthy competition to the brands also, not to the point where the customer is saturated and the brands are cannibalizing each other on our own platform. We are able to using the brands. I mean, trends change also. Brands will come and go. As a platform, because of our nimble nature, we're able to, the moment a brand is going down in their sale, they're going out of, they're getting pushed out of the market, they would automatically wean away from our platform as well. And that would be replaced by other brands which are up and coming, maybe in the same category, maybe in another category. So we're able to ride the top of one wave to the next and evolve fast, bring on the latest innovation when it comes to categories and products. And this is quite a fast moving industry right now with tremendous amounts of new international products, domestic products reimagined. Like we've just signed on a company called Smooch Kombucha. It's invested by Sunil Shetty, the actor. Kombucha sign on. They've made kombucha with fantastic Indian flavors, which no one would have imagined. They sent me some samples. One of them was rasam flavored kombucha, and I was very skeptical. I was like, "What the hell is this?" I tried it. I was blown away. It's actually kombucha. It's actually rasam. It's the perfect blend, and that way, so much innovation is happening. We don't need to do the R&D as a marketplace. We bring on the latest, the hottest, and we ride that wave of success. And when it's on the way out, we are able to bring in, based on that track record we have, we're able to attract newer and more innovative brands as we go along. As far as the organic, non-organic part of your question is concerned, not all products which we sell are claimed to be organic. Because organic itself is a long process. Certification can take 7 to 10 years for companies. They have to prove that the groundwater has been flushed of the toxins and the chemicals which were being used in conventional farming. So what we've done is, if you give me a moment, I'll scroll down to something. Yes. So we have a flavor purity rating system, which essentially does not exist yet in the market. We're working on it. Eventually, it will be an AI-driven system. When you buy an air conditioner or a refrigerator, regardless of the brand, because of the star rating, you know how much power consumption and ecological footprint it will have. Currently, FSSAI permits the use of 11,000 plus additives in food products. Now, in minuscule quantities, these are fine, but the add-on compounded by all the varieties of products we consume during the course of the day and the week and our entire lifetimes, those add up into the system. Consumers are seeking to avoid those. So the system we have is essentially we take all of those the additives, we're able to categorize them, match them against the product ingredients, plus whatever claims those brands are making. We verify those, we run them through our algorithm, and we come out with a rating on a five-star scale. And we have a benchmark as well, where if a product falls below a certain rating, it will not be listed on our platform. So customer trust and uniformity of that trust across categories, across brands, is something we're looking at. Eventually, the vision is to make this the de facto industry standard, which could be licensed as well. So that's part of the long-term vision. As far as the data which we're going to be generating through all our activities, that will give us tremendous insights into which categories are on the uptake, which kind of products are in demand, and this would enable us, first of all, to create our own branded products within those categories based on insights which we're generating through the system. And long-term vision, again, not before 5 years, offline presence also. The reason I say not before 5 years is, first of all, we need to create that top of mind brand recall. We need to generate those revenues, earn the profitability, because offline play is capital intensive when it comes to premises, interiors, cost of goods on the shelf, uh, operating expenses. But we will do it from a position of strength, from high brand recall, from a tremendous online presence. And as far as our long-term viability is concerned, I am not chasing valuation at this stage. I know that once we do what we're supposed to do, when you do it right, the valuation will be a side effect. Uh, the way we've planned it out, we've got a 5-year financial model in place, uh, very conservative to start out with. We are expected to hit break even in month 18. So I would rather focus on making, say, 5 lakh or 10 lakh profit on 1 crore sales, at least initially, rather than make 10 crore or 100 crore sales and be razor thin on my EBITDA, or be in a precarious situation where the slightest change in the market and I go into the red. So the first year and a half is completely about building the systems, making sure we achieve profitability, reinvest that into the business. And from there, we focus on growth from month 18 to 20 onwards to the point where it's sustainable, self-sustaining, and we can have exponential growth.
Okay. That still doesn't answer my question. Thank you for all of the explanation, but still doesn't answer my question. My question was very simple, that there is choice that is available
Yes.
to the consumers, right?
Yes.
They still have to go and look at all the different products that are going to get listed. They still have to review all of those products one by one to figure out which one they have to buy, right?
Yeah.
So that part of the process does not go away. That's where I wanted to understand. What's your take?
Okay. So definitely the customers have been given choice. They will select. I mean, it's a known fact that too much choice can also hamper the decision-making process and a likelihood of customer walking away without buying anything because they're confused and they say, okay, I'll just come back to it later. So we are going to give a balance of choice, but not so much that it overwhelms the buyer, first of all. Sure, they will be looking at factors like, okay, is the flavor what I like?
But
Is it
these are post facto, Jitesh, right? Once I've purchased it, only then I will come to know of all of these things. My point, where
well, I
I'm
mean,
coming from.
what I mean to say is, for example, chocolate. Do I like coffee flavored chocolate? Do I like white chocolate or vanilla flavored chocolate? So those is pre-existing biases are there. Definitely, the repeat purchase would tap into more of their experience. So we have to be really careful with the brands we select. But having said that, the biggest part which we're solving for is that the customer does not have to do any due diligence. They don't need to have the technical
Sure.
know-how about the chemical additives. And they know every product has been vetted to ensure that it is additive free.
Okay.
Instead of looking at 10,000 products on Amazon and trying to figure that out.
Sure. So if I were to sort of put this into the mix, maybe just play devil's advocate here. All it takes for Amazon is to say that I want additive free product, and everybody who's doing the listing, they just have to do whether this is additive free or not. That's part one. Part two, I heard some things in terms of you saying whether it's good enough to be given to the family. I didn't understand what is good enough and who's defining good enough, right? Your good
The
enough
rating
could be,
system is.
yeah. So my point was that you come from the branding, marketing, and that kind of background, right? You understand the importance of the messaging and the importance of the wordings that you are using.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to figure out how to align myself with is the word enough. What is good enough? Whether it's good or it's not, whether it qualifies or it doesn't, it is pretty black and white. Why would I want to, if I'm creating a marketplace which is hinging on the fact that it's additive free and you don't have to worry about anything, that I have, it's a pretty solid line drawn on a rock, right? You don't go and change it every day. You don't, it's not subjective. So I'm not sure if good enough is the right word to use in the first place.
Okay.
So that's something that you should think about. But again, coming back to the piece that I'm only talking about the product and the solution right now. There's a lot more to it, right?
Yeah.
But, and probably in the interest of time, when I'm looking at the defensibility of what you're trying to do and build into the system, and this is typically what Amazon has done historically speaking as well. They took some of the best-selling products, they went on, created their own brand, and now they push it in the marketplace for themselves, right? This is something that most brands are fairly aware of. They know that this is the risk that they carry every time they go to a particular marketplace. Marketplaces thrive on data and eventually building their own product to get into a particular segment and penetrate deeper than potentially what someone else could do. You spoke about the content piece, but sure, let you revolutionize how the content messaging and marketing is done, but then it's exactly copyable, right? So that's where I'm coming from when I say that when I'm looking at the marketplace model, these are the inherent fears that sure, tactically speaking, in the next 6 months, you could do something that is absolutely revolutionary. But 1 year down the line, I'll have 3 more people doing the exact same thing that you are doing with the exact, pretty much the same content, the same marketing strategy, the same GTM strategy, etc., in terms of what you are trying to do, right? All of these things that we are talking about, this is going to go out on the internet. People know what you're thinking, what you're talking about. So that's why the stealth mode operation sort of comes into the picture. But having said that, these are the top of mind items that I would probably want you to think about a little bit as well. Okay. And I have only 20 more minutes, so I would probably want to just move on to the next point that I have, if that's okay with you. I know we could talk about this for a prolonged period of time, and there would be a lot of back and forth because the insights that you have from your experience, and I'll go on to add the word bias as well. That puts you in a position where you want to defend it strongly. But then I have already seen a lot of these things come into the market and how they've panned out and how the marketplace model works versus how a D2C brand wants to come and penetrate the market and everything else. So I'm the devil's advocate here, trying to figure out that, can you really be that company that gives me a 10x return multiple? That's the whole hypothesis. Now, you throwing in the angle that I am willing to take it slow, how does that factor into the investment ask? Because, and that was my second point, that while your slide is really good, okay, this is how you should make it. But if you're not thinking about me and trying to figure out that how do I get this particular investor a 10x multiple, 2x multiple, 5x multiple, whatever it is in the next 2-3 years, and what's the exit horizon and whatnot, why as an investor would I be interested in backing you up? Right? That's the next important point, because if you are thinking that I can do this by myself, I don't need external money, very good. Go ahead, do it. Nothing's stopping you. But if you are thinking external money is thinking, how do I multiply it?
Yeah.
Right. So, and that's where the pressure comes in, the board pressure, to say that why are you not growing fast enough?
Yeah.
Why are you not acquiring more customers? Why are you not selling more? Why are you not doing XYZ things? Right.
Yeah.
That's where it
No,
comes
these
from.
are very, very, very good points, Amiya. So, first of all, let me thank you for your critique of the brand promise. I think, yeah, that will help us a lot, because it can definitely be articulated differently for a more enhanced effect. I agree with you there completely. Also, you talked about Amazon. I know, I just touch on it very briefly. The thing is, Amazon charges a lot less platform fee than us upfront. However, to sell on Amazon, the brands, they've been burned. They know that they need to pay for sponsored listings, featured listings, for them to be pushed as FBA. They need to pay for logistics to move their goods to Amazon fulfillment centers. They pay rent on cubic footage. If it doesn't sell, they have to pay logistics again to bring the product back. If it sells, they have to pay logistics again to get it delivered. So it comes out to 50-55%. So we have a transparent flat 30%, which brands do find advantageous. As far as taking it slow is concerned, by taking it slow, I definitely did not mean a leisurely stroll. I'm an entrepreneur myself. I come from a Sindhi business family. I do have the 5-year financial projections, and that's going to, I mean, of course, numbers, again, they're debatable, of course, but based on a very critical eye myself, the rational returns which we can provide, I mean, if we were to look at those numbers now, if we have time, it's going to be
No, I wouldn't
higher
want you to
than
share those numbers
28's
in the
return.
public forum.
No.
So,
Maybe
I mean,
on one-on-one, perhaps.
Yeah. So, but I don't know a lot, and basis a very small, 45-minute, half an hour conversation, it's very difficult to comment a lot and provide a lot of very deep insights. But my uber point that remains is that marketplace model has its pros and cons. Certain places where it de-risks, certain places it adds risk. The longevity, continuity, sustainability, profitability, and growth. These are all the points that remain under scrutiny as long as the model scales and remains, right? If I'm looking at external money going from X to 2X to 5x to 10x, the timeline and the horizon that you draw, and are you actually able to execute and achieve that in the first place? That is what is going to define whether you raise a pre-seed round right now. Have you had any funding so far?
No, we don't have any external funding, but Prankul, who's a part of the founding team, he's been with me since the pre-idea stage.
Let's not talk
Gradually.
specifics in terms of numbers, in terms of cap tables and equities and everything else. Okay. I don't want this information going out on the public forum.
Sure.
Okay, so I understand the picture. Now, think about it this way. Going from landing a pre-seed is very, very difficult in the first place. The risk is, and again, stop thinking about it from a founder perspective. I'm sure you have looked at it from an angel investment perspective yourself. You have done that. You have mentored startups as well, right? You put that hat on and you're trying to figure out the risks and the returns that you are going to get out of it, right? That's the hat that I'm thinking that you should put on a bit more, because even if you land a pre-seed, you get to seed, people know what is the traction, how slow, how fast, are you able to get to 1.9 CR that the one that you're committing or not, and then whether you get to a pre-series A if you have to, or you try and create a bridge round, or you try and get to a series A. Now within these 3 rounds, your execution is measured. Even if you get to a series A, does not mean that your business becomes successful. The long-term perspective has to be kept in mind from day one, right? That's when when I'm working with startups, I'm very particular about how you are looking at this. And you've been a founder yourself. You've run your own business. You know, if you're looking at external money is looking at making money. And I've said this before as well. If that does not remain a top of the mind item for a founder, external money is going to be withdrawn. People talk in the investor community as well, right? You have your friends who have done angel investors. You talk to them as well. If you like a deal, you take it out to them as well. We do due diligence as well. We call ex-investors or other past round investors, and we check with them. How has it been with the founder? What sort of challenges, what sort of returns are you expecting? Does it make sense for me to invest? Right? All of these things happen. So if this is not something that you are aware and conscious and consciously implementing into your system, even if you get to a series A, it does not mean that you're going to actually be able to do a series A round, right? So be very careful in terms of how you look at this. Aggression in what you do is certainly required.
Absolutely.
Right. So a lot of, let's just say you do this, right? You've already launched it. And maybe Flavor is not as well known a brand, but I hope and pray to God that 1 year down the line, Flavor is that brand. But then 1.5 months, there will be another Flavor. Right? So the pace at which this entire industry moves, you have to really figure out a very solid, very biased ground for yourself. That's where the difference is. You can't see some of the things that I would actually want you to think more about in terms of, your positioning, your wordings, etc., because they seem like they're still in the gray. You haven't made up your mind, or that's how it's coming out to me. And that's why I'm very skeptical, because let's just look at your rating system. If you're saying additive free, why talk about your 11,000 additives, right? Either you can say that I am following government norms, or you can say that I am not allowing anybody with additives. What is the positioning here? I got confused. And and again, this becomes a very comparative thing, because if I go and look at some of these additives, and I know a lot of these additives, and look at a European market, a lot of these are not allowed. Does that mean that they are safe in India and not safe in Europe? No. There is some geography out there which has explicitly said that they are not safe. Then why is it allowed? Now, if you're trying to match to a policy and not the actual reality, then how do I build that trust in the brand? Right? And these are the questions that every brand should ask, that what is that biased opinion or contrarian opinion that you're holding that defines the ethos of your business in the first place? to me, what you said, it came out very confusing, right? I wasn't quite sure that, okay, are you a additive free or are you saying that 11,000 are permissible, right? That was the biggest shock to me in the context of this conversation. I wouldn't want.
Okay. I see your point. I think I probably should have articulated it differently again. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's what I'm trying to get to. And these are, I'm sort of skipping through some of these points very quickly because we don't have that kind of time. But you should look at, your narratives, your wordings very carefully. The Indian market is in dire need for voices that can make them believe that they are not consuming poison in whatever form, manner, or quantity, right? It's in dire need. The government policies, and I am happy to criticize and say that they need major improvements.
A complete overhaul.
Complete overhaul. I think most people agree, even probably some people sitting in the government agree, but I don't know how long that will that'll take and will it ever happen or not. But it is required. People want these changes. But when I'm looking at Indian brands, they appear more gray to me because the business viability doesn't work for them. If you tell me, I think you use the phrase that not everybody is chemical free or additive free or something like that you use, right? Or not everybody is organic, if I remember correctly. What does that mean? Because if you're telling me that I'm not 100% organic, then what am I? Right? Does that mean that
we claim to be additive free, which means no artificial chemicals into it? Which is where the flavor rating comes in the sense that we've got rating 5, which is certified organic. Rating 4.5, for example, would be not yet certified, but at organic quality. So that necessitates the scale, which we will definitely communicate to the consumer.
But does that include those 11,000 permissible additives?
There are certain categories. I'll have to say this with a caveat. For example, we've just been talking to a brand of natural cheese. There's this European guy. He's making the European style Gouda and Edam, all those cheeses in India. His challenge is those products will spoil in 3 days.
Yes.
If there is no preservative, there is just no way to make it without that. So that is something where, with a disclosure that yes, this product contains certain amount of XYZ to make it viable. So those are things which we are still evolving with, trying to see how they can fit into our system, whether we bring them on board or not at all, or bring them on board with a caveat. Those are things we are kind of determining right now.
I understand that. And this is all coming down to the business viability, right? You need products, you need variations, you need SKUs to come on your shelves. I understand that. But I think that's where my biased disagreement with people who are working in this particular sector is that take a stand. If you're doing this, then do this. And that's where, as an investor, when I look at it, I'm typically not aligned because I don't know how you are going to create a business viability when you take that hard a stand. And you actually say that I am taking a stand of only promoting organic products and nothing else. No ifs, buts, caveats, nothing. And then viability becomes a problem.
Right? Exactly. Which we are not doing. I mean, we're not restricting only to organic because there aren't enough organic products out there.
Yeah, I agree. And that's why it's sort of a tricky model, right? But okay, so let me just take a pause on this particular subject. I want to talk about something else as well very quickly. So this is with respect to your investment that I wanted to talk about and give you the thought process that when you're looking at an external investment, keep that in mind that I'm not looking for you to grow alone. I'm also looking to make an exit. And 2 to 3 years at a pre-seed round, if I'm there, and I'm probably looking at, maybe 3 years, 4 years kind of horizon to make an exit. And while you may not be chasing a valuation, I am. Right? So if I am a stakeholder in your business, then I would much rather want you to think about me. And I can't be ignored. Right?
Yeah,
Now, that's
got
the
it.
other point. Now, when you spoke about what I didn't see, you spoke about a lot of different brands that you've onboarded, but what you haven't, at least for the public forum, what I didn't see in this conversation was the traction that you already have in terms of numbers, in terms of your
Mhm.
sales, in terms of your revenue, in terms of your margins, etc., etc. Um, I'm not sure if you'd be willing to open that up in this forum. If you're not, that's absolutely fine, but I didn't say it, so I wanted to call it out. That's
So,
something that you should have.
yes, so I can give you a brief overview without going into too much of specific numbers. We've not invested much in marketing, maybe just a lakh or two of rupees in marketing, essentially brand marketing. Whatever revenue we have right now is essentially through my personal connects, through word of mouth, secondary word of mouth, and repeat purchases. Having said that, realistically speaking, I still consider us to be a pre-revenue venture.
Fair enough. Okay. So the important thing is that whenever you are ready to actually start reaching out to investors, right?
Mhm.
Your stance needs to be very clear. How do you want to position yourself?
Right.
If you say that I have onboarded all of these brands, the
Mhm.
narrative or the base for the narrative that it's setting up is that I am making sales and I am a revenue generating company. So
Mhm.
if you change after that and say that for all intents and purposes, I am a pre-revenue company, you are leaving me high and dry. And my doubt in what you say and how you're phrasing things, that goes up. So I don't know what to trust because I don't know if you're positioning something and then changing your stance, or it's like a twisting and manipulation of sorts.
No, that was definitely not the intention. But I mean,
I
we've
agree.
got the supply side and the customer side. So
No,
we can
my
customer
point is
until
very
we have
simple.
variety to show them.
My point is very simple, that when you
Yeah,
name these brands and say that I have got the
yeah,
supply figured out, right?
yeah.
I'm already and you have already said that I've been operational for 2 months,
A few months, yes.
right? Few
Yeah,
months, 2 months, I gathered two
yeah,
months, but
yeah.
whatever it is. Now, 2 months operational with all of these brands, and you're saying pre-revenue. I don't know how to. LHS is not equal to RHS for me.
Okay, okay.
Right? I'm expecting two
Mhm.
months operational with all of these brands and sales.
Mhm. Okay,
Right?
yeah. I mean, initially the focus was only to bring the brands on board so that we
Sure.
could go with a selection of available brands to the customer. A customer would not come to a marketplace to buy five products.
Right.
So,
No, I
kind of
get
the
that.
focus
But
was essentially on the supply side. We've got that nailed now. The next steps are to actually start focus on the revenue generation.
so so change your or disclose it someplace that we have been operational in
Sure.
terms of onboarding the sellers. We will
Mhm.
go live with respect to onboarding the buyers in the next month. That's a very
Okay,
clear story to me. Okay. Now I understand what you're doing
got
and
it.
how you faced it.
Got it.
Otherwise, it's confusing because what I heard
Sure.
gave me the impression that you probably are not at a pre-seed level, but further questions sort of revealed a story that broke the image that I said based on what you said.
Okay, I see your point. Very
Okay.
valid.
Okay. So traction is one of those sides. Now, the biggest piece of what you are trying to do here, you don't have a product, you have a marketplace. Okay. Your marketplace is your product. So technology, software, that's your product. I actually don't see it as a product in the first place. But with what you are doing, the point that I'm trying to drive to is the key to success in your business is your GTM. The key to success in your business is your marketing. How that funnel shapes up from awareness about flavor to the
Mhm.
sales number of SKUs going out, the frequency, the volume, and everything else, and the margin that you're making. This is where the business is. Rest of it is adding to it. Okay, this is the crux of the business. When you spoke about your GTM, you spoke about it as a growth. But I have nothing that I can see which makes me believe that you have validated anything before talking about growth. Growth comes next. Right? Your slide itself says growth strategy. No, it's not a growth strategy. First, figure out a validation strategy. So what you're doing, you are able to make that sale in the first place. You are able to reach out to the right set of people. You know who are the right set of people. A very good thing that I saw is that you have your ICP slide, which most people don't. They don't understand what an ICP is, right? So if you have that laid out properly for me to get the confidence that, yes, you know who to reach out to, when to reach out to, how to reach out to, and it's not a bucket list. Most GTMs I see, they are bucket list. You spoke about, I don't want to do XYZ things alone. I think buying credits on Google Ads, etc., and you're relying on content or
A mix of both, but definitely a long-term reliance on organic.
sure. So long term, and again, when you're talking and pitching, right, and you're doing a Q&A and all of these things, I'm sort of going into more giving you my opinion and waiting for your
Please do. I
responses
really
because
appreciate that.
I don't have that kind of time. I would have loved to hear more and discuss more, but I don't have that much
Yeah.
time right now. But here is the point that when you're talking about GTM, there is a short-term strategy and there is a long-term strategy. Okay.
Yeah.
SEO, your content, anything that takes time to funnel through and trickle through the internet and get to the people, unless and until you're able to create a viral reel or a viral content out there, it's a trickle effect. It takes time.
Yeah.
But if this is what you started with, not investing into Google ads, this is what you said. That was
I said the reliance would not be exclusively on those, but it would be, yes.
The impression that I got was that
Okay.
this is not my go-to method. Now,
Okay.
my
No.
immediate
That.
question was
Mhm.
that, boss, this is how you're tactically going to create awareness.
Of course.
Long-term strategy, SEO and content and all of those things, I understand, fair. But short-term, everybody has to go and make an
Of
Instagram
course.
reel.
Oh, for a short term, paid Meta and Google Ads,
Exactly.
definitely that's what's going to fill the funnel until we have the content and the long term SEO, etc., which kicks in maybe 6 to 8 months down the road.
It will take much longer. It will take, my
Yes.
estimation is 1.5 to 2 years for you to see that effect.
It starts a minimum 6 to 8 months for anything to show up
Right.
from a data perspective, and then it grows from there.
My
Agreed.
biggest question then becomes that what I heard first, and again, it's a lot about how you say and phrase things, right?
Yes.
What I heard and understood, basis what you said, was a long-term strategy. What I read was growth strategy. Everything made me think that you're not thinking about this tactically. First, you have to survive the next 6 months.
Right.
What I didn't understand was how much money is it that you're burning? How much money is it that you can burn without raising external money to survive in the first place? If you can't survive 6 months,
Okay.
what am I going to do with 2 years plan?
Okay.
Right. So when you're looking at GTM and focus very clearly on the next 6 months to 1 year plan.
Okay.
And don't put a bucket list. It can't be, I'll do LinkedIn, I'll do Instagram, I'll do Meta, I'll do X, I'll do Y, I'll do offline. Very specific. It has to be a strategy. It's not a bucket list. Right? So when you do all of these things, that's when you are giving me the confidence that you know how to approach your market in a very structured way. So your survivability, the probability of your survivability is on the higher side for the next 6 months to 1 year time frame.
Sure.
I'm not worried about 2 years down the line. First, I need to build the confidence to invest in you for the next 1 year. If you can survive and if you can meet your 1.5 year milestone, then the next 2 year plan comes into the picture. But if I can't build the confidence that you can survive for the next 1.5 years, what's the point? Right?
Makes sense. Makes perfect sense. Thank you.
Um,
Amiya, can I also ask you a question?
Sure. Go ahead.
So hypothetically speaking, let's say you've come on board as our first investor. Now, on day one, what would be your top 3 pieces of advice to me? Now that you're on board, you're part of us.
I wouldn't be
in that
onboard if
scenario?
you haven't fixed those top 3 pieces in the first place.
Okay.
I wouldn't come on board right now. I'll be honest with you. Okay.
Sure.
Unless you have see, like I said, in my head, it's this funnel. It's your GTM. That is the key. I didn't get any sense that you have a grip on that.
Okay.
You might in the long term, but at least in this narrative, in this context, it didn't come out. And I'm sorry if I'm being too harsh, but
No. I prefer the blunt truth. And definitely, we've got plans right from weekly plans, monthly, quarterly. We've got all of that.
that needs
But
to come
I
out.
think I was focusing more on the strategic long term vision, even in the GTM, which perhaps I should narrow it down to the immediate 1 year.
That comes in your roadmap. There is a slide that you need
Right.
to put that if someone wants to know, that can come out in your roadmap. What your GTM roadmap?
Got
What
it.
are your long-term thought process? Are there changes in persona that you're targeting? Are there changes in product that you're targeting? This is all roadmap.
Right.
The roadmap is
Right.
only a theoretical aspect that has got no current relevance. Right? So top 3 things, I would give you one thing and one thing alone. Fix your GTM.
Got it.
And GTM, again, break it down from your channel identification to your marketing, to your content strategy, to everything else that surrounds it, right? It's easier to figure out the supply. It's much more difficult to figure out the demand because supply is B2B, demand is B2C. B2C is relatively a much more difficult market to crack and sustain that. You might have that one-time spike going up, but it will come down as quickly, or rather, it can come down as quickly. And you have seen that, right? For Toblerone to have that market share consistently, and I'm sure a lot of different products came in between, but to keep that up, there was a lot that was required, right? But I think my personal bias is that we think about it from a very long-term perspective. But when you're doing a startup, have a vision. That's your compass, right? Which direction do you want to take things in? But if you don't know how to take the first step, if you don't know if you're walking on water or mud or solid road or concrete, if you don't know how to pace yourself, and let's just say that you decide that I want to walk on water, if you don't know how to swim, you have got an immediate tactical problem that you don't know how to solve. What is my vision and compass going to say and do about it? Nothing. Do you have the right set of people with the right set of skill set in your founding team? That's the next question, right? And while the connections and network and all of these things are very, very good, and I'm in favor of having them, but execution to achieve an outcome that does not depend on anybody else apart from yourself and the founding team.
Absolutely.
So every piece of what is happening in the business needs to come from this founding team. The words that you put in, where to put a comma, where to put a full stop. Should it be a question mark or an exclamation mark? That has significance. It needs to be thought through. While bias for action is extremely important, if it's not thought through, it's a headless chicken problem. Right? You're just running around trying to figure out on the go. Put some thought. You don't have to be a perfectionist, but at least have something in place. And in my experience, the most difficult things don't take more than 2 days to strategize and put in practice. You can have any plan ready in 2 days. You really have to put your head to it and have that willpower to execute on that. That's all it takes. Right? You don't have to create a 2-month plan. So that's my input. Happy to hear your thoughts, or if you have any questions, or if anybody else has any questions, I can probably stay for another 10 minutes and we can have a more engaging session.
Well, Amiya, first of all, thank you. You've been very insightful. See, one of the things which happens is, as a consultant, I would probably be giving the same kind of advice to companies I mentor. But because this is my baby, I'm emotionally invested.
Yes.
Many a times, I actually seek out mentorship and feedback from investors and other peers because they give an unbiased third-party perspective, an external view.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate your upfront honesty and the critique. They're very valuable for me.
Thank you. But believe me when I say this, if I put on a founding member hat, I immediately reach out to different people and talk about it because
Yes.
there is such a strong bias that inherently comes when you become a founder that something
Exactly.
that you would advise others, you are not doing yourself.
It can become a bit difficult at times to pull back and see the big picture instead of the pixels themselves individually.
I agree 100%. That's why I'm always like, no matter how good you are, no matter how better you become, as a founder, as
Yeah,
a person, as a professional, it's always important to have a core set of people who can keep you true and honest and give you the kind of perspectives that you would probably not take from anybody else.
absolutely agree. And which is why I've been a part of Madhwani Foundation, their current
Okay.
cohort as well, to get that, third person perspective, get that critique, the brutal honesty that comes with it. And,
Right.
and today's session was really wonderful and valuable for me. So really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Thank you.
So we have like a few more minutes. I would love to have like people in the chat who are like looking for questions or something like that. So based on whatever you've seen, if you can raise your hand, then we can ask the question to either Amiya or Jitesh to make it more interactive. I do see like a bunch of questions in the chat. I don't know if either of you want to pick any of those. So Karan has a question. So Karan, yeah, go ahead.
So good afternoon, Amiya sir and Jitesh sir. So my question is like we are a deep tech startup and we have been developing agentic AI for enterprises and we are doing automation in that. And we have just got the grant from Ministry of Electronics and IT, Government of India. So are we in a pre-seed stage or should we raise a seed round because we are looking for investment as we are developing hardware in it as well.
You're still at a pre-seed.
So
Till,
okay.
see, I think the simplest way I can summarize this is to say that if you're pre-revenue, think of yourself as pre-seed. Right? There is nothing
Okay.
that you and again, take it with a pinch of salt when I say this, and take it as my very strong bias that grants don't mean successful businesses.
Yeah.
Money doesn't mean successful businesses. Business is business. If unless you know how to crack it and sell it, building products is the easy part, selling is the more difficult part.
Yeah, actually, we have onboarded 3 enterprises for our agent AI platform, and they are
PO
using
raised?
it for. Yeah,
PO raised?
no,
Okay. What is it? LOI?
no. We we
When
are
you say
in contract
onboarded,
for.
when you say
Yeah,
onboarded, what does it mean?
like they are using our agent AI, and we have integrated it in their system.
So it's a POC,
Yeah,
but it's not PO.
yeah,
So have they given any confirmation to say that if I will certainly give you a 100% guarantee that you will get a PO after the POC?
yeah. Two of them have said that.
So then get the PO, what's stopping it? If you have the PO, you already have the sale,
Yeah,
then you can try and figure out how the business goes from there.
yeah. Actually, it is a paid a pilot program we have
Paid
been
pilot
running.
does not qualify. See, paid pilot, unpaid pilot does not mean anything. Do you have a PO?
Not
That's
right
the
now.
So that's the only criteria that I'm looking at for me to qualify whether this is actually a revenue generated in your business or not. Paid is just a
Okay.
system to say that you put in the effort, someone is willing to pay you for the effort. Doesn't mean that you have taken that first step in business of making a proper actual sale. It's a precursor to a sale.
Yeah.
Any other
Okay.
questions? Anybody else who wants to go?
But Karan, you can get in touch with me. We can talk about this later as well. Okay.
Sure.
Okay. Looks like there's no other questions. Awesome session. Thanks to both.
Sorry,
Amiya
Raghav.
Yeah.
There's a question I see from Ravikant that I want to answer. Do we need pre-revenue to reach out to investor? Okay. This is a very interesting question. No, you do not. But then you need to be really doing a quantum computing and figuring out how to build qubits. Okay.
Okay.
If
Correct.
you are really at that kind of level, then anybody is going to give you the money. Not anybody, but most deep tech patient capital investors, they will give you the money. You really have to have that kind of niche that you're bringing to the table if you're pre-revenue. Everybody else, You have to really struggle and fight and figure out who is the right person, and then maybe they will give you the money. For most, you will not get the money.
Okay, correct.
So 90% you will not get the money. The rest, maybe 8 to 9%, you have to prove that with this capital, you can really do something that is going to create a pipeline and set up a business that makes someone interested in putting in the money. Maybe that 1% doing something really revolutionary of figuring out the next quantum computing, figuring out the next XR, figuring out the next, sort of like cardiovascular solution or cancer solution. Then you fall into that 1% category where people are going to probably give you an upfront money to figure something out. Otherwise, no, not happening.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Okay. I think I'm done.
Great. Okay, awesome. So I'm going to put some links in the chat. This is basically so if you're interested in pitching your startup to Amiya and participate in the monthly pitch workshop, please check out the link that I've shared in the chat. It's thestartupclub.info, and you can go here and then you can go and click on pitch to investor, and then you can sign up for this, and we'll reach out to you. And also, I want to also talk about our product. The Startup Club has been going around for the past couple of years, and we've been doing a lot of events and things like that. And we've interfaced with a lot of founders and investors as well. And we've built a product called Clickin, and this is something that you can download right now. We launched last month, and we're still looking for early feedback. So if you are interested in connecting with co-founders or investors or mentors and other resources that you need as an early stage founder, please download Clickin, and then you can share your feedback from there. And also, Amiya has shared his link in the chat. You can reach out to him on LinkedIn if you want to connect with him. I've also shared Jitesh's LinkedIn in the chat earlier. Please, if you want to connect with him regarding a partnership or something like that, please do reach out to him on LinkedIn as well. With that said, this is it for this session. So next month we will have another session. It'll be on our meetup page. So you can also have the link. You can look at that on our website, that is startupclub.info, where you can see the link to our meetup page. All that said, thank you so much for joining, and I hope this was great. This session is being recorded, and it will be posted on our YouTube channel as well. So the link to that as well is on the official website, that is startupclub.info. Thanks, everyone. Have a great weekend.
Thank you
See you
so
next
much,
time.
everyone.
Yeah.
And thank you, Jitesh, for putting up with me.
No, thank you, Ami. I really appreciate your candid insights. Very valuable for us. And Raghav, thank you for having me.
Yeah, wonderful. See
Have a
you
good
guys.
day, guys. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.